So far, we've only seen a very basic syntax for the select statement. However, generally when we're retrieving data from a database, we want to be specific about exactly what kind of data we want to get back from it. Let's take a look at the food database, which already has some data on it. And we take a look at its tables there. If we run a select statement in the way that we've been doing, select all columns from recipes, where the star represents all, as we can see, the data it returns is not in a format we want for two different reasons. One reason is that it's included every row in the table, and the other reason is that because it's shown all the columns, the formatting has been messed up for the MySQL monitor, because they don't fit, all the contents of the columns do not fit on a single length of the MySQL monitor. What we can do instead is to choose exactly which columns we want to see in the result of the select query. If we use the show column statement that we learnt very early on in this chapter, then we can get a list of the columns that constitute the recipes table. We can then select the ones we want, say recipe ID, which is the unique field that makes every field, gives every field a unique value, and the name field, which is the name of the recipe. If we do this, we get a much more readable output. We get two columns that can fit easily within the MySQL monitor. However, we're still getting all 20 rows that are in the table so far. And although, because it's only 20 rows, this happens to fit on the MySQL monitor at the moment, if we had 200 rows, then obviously we wouldn't be able to see all of them. Also, we may only want to see certain rows. We may be looking, for instance, for the first recipe of the set. To get the first recipe of the set, we could write out this very similar query, but we add a where clause on the end. What a where clause does is it allows us to specify exactly which rows we want to be seeing. So, for instance, if we say where recipe ID, then we need to use a little operator, in this case the equality operator. Recipe ID equals 1. So that, in other words, is saying show me all the recipe IDs and names from the recipes table where the recipe ID has a value of 1. In other words, show me the first recipe from the table. That shows us recipe ID number 1, the sesame oil stir fry. We can also use a different kind of where clause, using the name as the search criteria. And instead of using the equality operator, which is the equal sign, we're going to use the like operator. Now the like operator allows us to check against a more flexible kind of pattern. So in this case, we're going to include a string inside a pair of quotation marks. And inside the string, we're going to use a percent sign. And what the percent sign stands for is any combination of letters and numbers and symbols. So effectively, when we type in the search word, in this case roast, and enclose it between two of these percent signs, what we're effectively saying is if the string roast, R-O-S-T, ROAST, occurs anywhere within the record in the name column, then return that row. Otherwise, don't return that row. So essentially we're looking for any recipes that include the word roast in the title. As we can see, it accurately found the 2 recipes that contained the word roast. Of course, there's a lot more to select statement than this. It's extremely powerful, and there's a whole raft of different configurations that we can use to create more and more powerful select statements and thus make very effective queries in SQL. However, we're going to look at these over the movies and chapters to come. This is the basic syntax for the select statement. In our next movie, we're going to look at ways to update existing data.